I got out some little balsa sticks, which architects play with a lot of times, and I started building a model of this building. And that's when I discovered that it was going to be a complicated project. And when I got the model all stuck together, I utilized Dorothy Jean's stockings to stretch over the structure. And of course, that's when I noticed that all these panels would be curving, and that complicated it more, because I realized that plywood won't bend in two different directions at once. We contacted the Concrete Institute offices in Atlanta, and we asked them several questions. One, if we're talking about a 3-inch slab on changing slopes, we have to use a concrete mix. We don't know what kind of concrete mix we have to have, but that'll hold on that slope while it sets. And they said, well, you're going to have to go to a very low slope, a low slump mix. They designed a mix in Atlanta for this particular roof, and it had a proper slump. It was designed for 6,000 pounds PSI. Normal concrete that you see in most buildings is either 2,500 PSI or 3,000. This one is 6,000. And the test all indicated that it was. And it had to be poured in one day. The contractor on this project was a fellow named Jack Avant. I don't know whether Jack's even alive anymore. But they were the low bidders, $120,000 for everything here. That's a lot, right? There are no tensile stresses in that roof. It's all compressive. The reason that that's the case is because of the shape of the roof and because of the way it spreads out and it's supported by these heavy buttresses. And those buttresses, they look huge, but they're necessary because they support this whole roof. The roof also reflected to us the nature of the site. There were a lot of palmettos on the site. I've talked about this before once several years ago. And if you look at a palmetto, if you notice how they spray up, well, that was the sense of what this tent-like structure would give us a lift, as it were. And each of these little leaflets here in the palmetto is like that. And so it's kind of, the palmetto really kind of does reflect one of the ideas for the building. This was not intended to be the worship center. This was a recreation hall. And so it was designed for that purpose originally. However, there was no money to build any more, so we built it. We designed all this to accommodate our worship services. Now, as far as the decorative elements of the building, these angles are reflected everywhere we could reflect these angles. And the doors, and you look at even the concrete block that frame the windows on this building and the other building. Those are standard old concrete block. They're called frog block. And we simply turned them the wrong side out so that we get those angles in them. And that theme came through the whole thing. We designed some of the lighting fixtures. A good friend of ours designed those, the ashtrays out front. And he was a great designer. And he said, yeah, I can do that. And, well, and this floor, you may not know, But all the air conditioning system is under the floor, except for the units. And that in itself is a bit of a challenge. First of all, we're in South Florida and it tends to be wet, but this site is not wet. This site has quite an elevation. And so where the ductwork comes from back over there, and it comes and radiates out and comes up into the side and the back. That was all in place when the floor was cast. Now, the floor is conventional concrete. However, the surface of the concrete is what we call steel trowel finish. But in order to get a nice color to it, we use some stain, concrete stain, and that's what's there today. I've forgotten how long it took us to build it, probably a year and a half. I guess Joe or I were on this site almost every day, which is, well, to an architect, that's an expensive supervisory job. And you don't usually go to jobs every day. But we were, it was a project of love more than anything else for us, and after we got started with it. The day we were all out here, the contractor and a whole group of us, and we lowered the form. We took the last whaler out and the form dropped about 3/4 of an inch. And we cheered. Because the darn thing stayed up.